Morning, everyone. Oh, you're paying attention. Wonderful. That was for me, actually. I refuse to think that it's now 2:30 after lunch. I'll be making this presentation. Sitting to the right, chatting with Gareth for a little coaching, how to get through things. Gareth basically said to me, listen, you have the most boring presentation for the day. Try to be done in 5 minutes. So I guess I'll have to just try. And then to add fire to fury, to have your boss 20 feet away from you with his evaluation sheet. Wow, but yes, we'll progress. All right. Now, these are the main points of the presentation. Yes, we're on the second day, the second half of the second day, and we're going to be touching on what is the role of FID. Interesting, right? Who is required to report to the FID, statutory reports submitted to us, who are our partners, stakeholders, and who can report to the FID. I think that's where things might get a little interesting outside of the norm, based on the crowd that I have before me today. All right, firstly, what is the role of the FID? In particular, the FIU, the Financial Intelligence Unit of the FID. So we will be touching on the role of the FID, but narrowing down on the FIU in particular. So the FID was established by the FID Act of 2010, a department of government with sufficient independence and authority to effectively deal with the multidimensional and complex problem of financial crime. We have responsibility to, 1, investigate all categories of financial crime, collect information and maintain an intelligence database on financial crimes. The FIU, among other functional units, is charged with that responsibility, such as the Financial Crimes Unit, Financial Crimes Investigations Unit. We are charged with maintaining an arm's length relationship with law enforcement agencies and other authorities of Jamaica and foreign states, and with regional and international associations or organizations with which we are required to share information. Personally, I felt very proud when, hearing the minister speak yesterday about getting information, getting an update on the current matter, and he was duly informed that we had already contacted the FBI to engage in the current matter, showing our relationship that we have with various agencies across the globe. We're also responsible to exercise our function with due care, with due regard to the rights of our clients, our citizens. Continuing. Some things you may not know. We are responsible to advise the Minister of Finance and the Public Service on matters of policy relating to the detection, prevention, and control of financial crimes. We're responsible to collect, request, receive, process, analyze, and interpret information relating to financial crimes and transaction reports and any other reports made to or received by the division. And this in particular is one of the primary functions of the FIU. Also, where the CTD considers it necessary, he may share information contained in these reports with the competent authorities, that is BOJ, FSC, Real Estate Board, Public Accountancy Board, GLC pending on that one. Also, we share information with the Attorney General, the Commissioner of Police, any Revenue Commissioner under the Revenue Administration Act, the Commission for the Prevention of Corruption, or the DPP, as you all will be aware. We investigate or cause to be investigated at the request of the DPP, the Commissioner of Police, or any other public body, or on the initiative of the CTD himself. Also, one of our primary responsibilities as to why we're here today, for the last 2 days, is to promote public awareness and understanding of financial crimes and the importance of their elimination from the society. We're also responsible to manage, safeguard, maintain, and control any property seized or restrained in connection with the proceeds relating to financial crimes. So you have not heard anything really new. It's just putting things in a theoretical perspective for you. And we don't want to take it for granted that the audience here is well understanding of everything that FID does. Because we do have new persons coming on stream every now and again, and we need to ensure that you are knowledgeable. Now, who is required to report to the FID? Again, don't want to take it for granted, but we have financial institutions such as the commercial banks, the merchant banks, building societies, credit unions, microcredit entities. Those are the newest kids on the block, recently regulated, regulations passed. Remittance, cambios, insurance companies, and intermediaries, as well as securities dealers. Those entities are supervised by the BOJ and the FSC from points 1 to 7, that's BOJ, 8 and 9, the Financial Services Commission. Continuing. We have, so those are financial institutions, and we have no designated non-financial institutions or designated non-financial businesses and professions, as they're called in some jurisdictions, and I think by FATF and CFATF. The DNFIs are the real estate dealers, governed by the Real Estate Board, or accountants, governed by the Public Accountancy Board. And it's not all accountants, it's very specific, the accountants that are required to report, that deal in the purchase and sale of real estate, managing of money, securities or other assets, purchasing or selling a business entity. For the gaming machine operators, they have to be licensed to operate 20 or more machines. And we have attorneys at law pending. In a matter of, I don't know when, we should get a ruling from the Privy Council on that. And they should be governed by the General Legal Counsel. And it's not all avenues of practice by attorneys that would be required to report. It's the attorneys that engage in transactions that involve the purchasing or selling of real estate, managing of money, securities or other assets, managing bank accounts or savings accounts of any kind or securities accounts, organizing contributions for the creation, operation, or management of companies, creating, operating, or managing a legal person or legal arrangement, such as trust or settlement, or purchasing or selling a business entity. So just trying to provide some knowledge to you. All right, quite a few of our reporting entities are in the crowd, so this is a yawn for you. These are our statutory reports. We have the threshold transaction report, or NIL report. We have suspicious transaction reports, suspicious activity reports, authorized disclosures, requests for consents, TP listed entities report, suspicious terrorism prevention act listed entities report, the UNSCRIA, UNSCRA, as it's called by AJ, one of our consultants, and UNSCRA with transactions. Now, these are our 9 primary reports. The last one is the cross-border report, which is governed by Section 101 of the Proceeds of Crime Act, and it's the only report that is not received electronically by the division. All other reports are submitted via a application known as the GoAML application software developed by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC. So just a little insight on these reports here. We have the TTR report, the threshold transaction report, which only for the financial institutions, and they are governed by 3 different thresholds. For remittance, it's US $5,000. So if a transaction is conducted at US $5,000 or more, it's required to be reported to the FID. For cambios, if a transaction is conducted at $8,000 or more, it's required to be reported to us. And for all other financial institutions, the threshold is US $15,000 or more. The newest reports to come on stream are the Terrorism Prevention Act, came on stream in 2013, and the freshest report in our system is the UNSCRIA, which came on board in 2022. Who are our partners? Quite a few of them you would have heard about on day one. So we collaborate with various members of both public and private sectors. And while the private sector collaboration, those collaborations are primarily evidenced with players of the regulated sectors, there are a number of non-regulated businesses with which the FID has a good rapport. Nonetheless, there's always room for improvement and encouraged partnerships. Our public sector partners include the Ministry of National Security. I understand that the Minister will be joining us here if he's not here as yet. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, the Jamaica Constabulary Force, of course, the Jamaica Defense Force, POCA, Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency, the Jamaica Customs Agency, graced us with their presence yesterday in the form of the Commissioner, the Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Association, the Integrity Commission, the Firearm Licensing Authority, the Cannabis Licensing Authority, the Urban Development Corporation. We have a whole slew of persons, government entities that we partner with, including the Tax Administration of Jamaica and RPD. Those partnerships are primarily built around policy formulation, information sharing, and joint investigations. Or private sector partnerships. Now you'll notice that this listing is quite a bit smaller. So while the majority of our private sector partnerships are interactions on a legally imposed basis, there are points of contact with various members of private society for mutual benefit. And these include the credit bureaus, the lottery companies, betting shops, attorneys at law, as well as goods and service providers. Now, it's interesting to note, while the attorneys are not yet required to report to the FID, we do have quite a few who they feel that they have a civic duty or responsibility to report to us things that are of concern. So they report under Section 100 of the Proceeds of Crime Act. That's the section that we'll be going into a little bit more on right now. So we touched on who is required to report to the FID. Now, who can report to the FID? So, despite the legal reporting requirements imposed on specific sectors of the economy, there is a need for as many sectors outside of this grouping to play their part in stemming the threat of money laundering. This can be done by making the relevant report to the FID, and these reports are known as protected or authorized disclosures. Disclosures can be made by anyone in the public in the course of that person's trade, profession, business, or employment. This should be done once the information or other matter causes the person making the disclosure to know or believe or to have reasonable grounds for knowing or believing that another person has engaged in money laundering. The disclosure has to be made to an authorized officer, that's a constable, a customs officer, or an officer of the agency, or a nominated officer, as soon as is reasonably practicable after the information or other matter which gives rise to the knowledge or belief, or reasonable grounds for such knowledge or belief comes to that person's attention. All right. Some key players of the economy that can make a significant contribution to the fight against money laundering. We have retailers or wholesalers, wholesale clubs, individuals conducting transactions for, say, 100,000 plus or more on a regular basis, or a supermarket. We have car dealers, doing transactions on a cash basis. I was doing some research for a family member recently, and I was advised that from the car dealer, you can come in, make a substantial deposit on the car, hoping not over $1 million. Well, that's illegal. But you can come and make a substantial deposit on the motor vehicle, and then you can make payments over, say, 6 months or so to clear up the balance. So that, in essence, will become a cash transaction. Or I'm sure the dealer will probably say that you can come make a deposit of $900,000, pay $100,000 a month over the next 6 months. That's $1.5 million. So that would be a breach. But, yeah, they would try to sell it as no, because the first transaction was under $1 million, and each transaction thereafter was only 100,000, so we're not in breach. They would try to argue with that, but no, splintering is illegal and is not allowed as well. So we have service providers, meaning restaurants, entertainment venues, hotels, most things of a high nature in providing services. We have real estate developers, non-regulated financial partners, such as financiers. And notice I said real estate developers, not dealers, because dealers are required to report, but not the developers. As well as anyone involved in any other trade, business, or profession. So any act which may give reasonable grounds to believe that an individual may be involved in money laundering. All right, I'm on the end, but I just want to give you 2 scenarios for you to think about. Scenario 1, a business owner, John Hasitall, visits a popular wholesale club in Kingston and makes purchases totaling $543,000. He pays with cash when told the bill by the cashier. Upon making the payment, the cashier jokingly states to Mr. Hasitall, "Wow, this is a lot of money. What type of work do you do, sir?" He simply responds, "I operate a boutique hotel in Montego Bay, and you should visit sometime." Is this transaction of a reasonable nature in our society today? Persons may be motivated to conduct such transactions for multiple reasons, such as a distrust of the financial system. I don't know where that distrust will come from. A misplaced sense of security due to being a licensed firearm holder. Some persons feel say them strapped, so them good, so they can walk around with this kind of money. Costs associated with banking accumulated small cash amounts received over time, and so on. But these are things to think about in your normal course of business. And our next scenario, Michael Bigdreams, a small-time real estate developer who engages in residential housing developments, normally constructs projects comprising 10 to 16 units. In September 2022, Mr. Bigdreams was approached by Matthew Bigbox with a business proposal. Mr. Bigbox offered to fund a multi-story residential development through Mr. Bigdreams Development Company, and the project is estimated to cost 1.5 billion Jamaican dollars. So Mr. Bigbox has not disclosed the source of his wealth and has never been involved in real estate development. Should Mr. Bigdreams be concerned with the source of Mr. Bigbox funding? Those are things to consider, and give us a call at the FID. Conclusion. The FID plays a pivotal role in the fight against money laundering. However, success cannot be achieved alone. Partnerships with key players from both the public and private sectors and the various operators of businesses and professions can have a significant impact in making a positive contribution to achieve the unified objective. The question of what's in it for me may be posed, but what benefit is there to be gained if I put my business at risk? What benefit is there to be obtained from contributing to this goal? The adverse impact which can come from having a less than adequate anti-money laundering environment will have adverse implications on us all. That's the truth. In conducting Jamaica's National Risk Assessment, as you would have heard about yesterday, a few areas have been identified as having some level of risks associated with money laundering, and some of which have been identified in this presentation. So your contribution will go a far way in improving our position in the fight against money laundering. And thank you very much for listening.